Test, 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 test.
Test, test, test.
Wee woo, wee woo.
Hello.
Hey guys, welcome back to Briefly Speaking.
Today, we're going to be talking about bad advertising. Does it exist? Where can you find it? And where have we found it recently? Maybe.
Maybe. Big on the maybe.
Big on the maybe. A few that we've seen that we want to talk about are
the McDonald's CEO and the Big Arch.
and the big bite.
Drake and his Iceman shenanigans. And then
Marty Supreme.
Mr. Marty Supreme, Mr. Timothy Chalamet.
We're not going to be addressing the ballet. That's not part of it. But we are going to talk about what went down in the advertising for the movie.
Yeah.
Up until that point.
Yes.
When it all changed.
Let's get into it.
So McDonald's and the Big Arch. The CEO is sitting in front of his desk doing a launch campaign for the US release of it. And he takes this feeble, little, cowardly bite.
Just the tiniest bite imaginable. I think he also starts off, guys, I really like McDonald's and McDonald's is great. And he doesn't seem, it's interesting to put this guy on camera because I don't think he's in front of a camera a lot of the time.
He did not get media trained.
Yeah, and I'm wondering like what his script was. Who said, do this and then take a big old bite? And that was his big old bite.
The Big Arch released in Canada a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
And he made me feel bad for all the big bites of the Big Arch I had taken.
I think it's also funny to see the comparison of him being like, wow, that was such a big bite, and then holding it up and it's just like this tiny little crevice taken out of there.
Obviously, the internet saw this and had a good laugh.
Yes. I think I saw it the day it came out of just people memeing on this man, because what do you mean that's a big bite?
Yeah. And everyone was saying even the CEO doesn't want to eat their food.
And I think it just goes to show how useful the internet is nowadays for advertising, because something like that can go so viral so quickly, even though that wasn't the intended purpose.
No, it definitely wasn't. It definitely wasn't.
Right after that, CEOs of different companies started to take on this like challenge of like taking a bite of your own food.
Of their own food.
Like, it's interesting to see the comparison of like the original video versus them, and then also all the PR that kind of surrounds that when it comes to advertising your own stuff.
If it had been an event that was successful, something good, and something that went viral, it would be great for McDonald's. They would get a lot of good publicity.
Yes.
But because it was such a meme and not in a good way, it didn't reflect very positively on them.
To be honest, I think if he had gone and just taken a big old bite, we wouldn't have seen anything about it.
No one would have cared.
Yeah.
It would have had a few hundred likes on McDonald's Instagram page. And it's interesting with the other CEOs eating their own food. I think they championed the trend. Like you showed me a video of the Costco CEO.
Yes.
Just monging on a $1.50 Costco hot dog.
And that price will never change.
And that will never change. It got me craving one. I think in this instance, McDonald's has failed because other brands did better on a campaign that they launched.
Yes, exactly. It's funny that it can be spun that instantaneously with the internet being what it is. Taking something over and making it your own can happen kind of just instantly if it goes wrong like that.
Yeah.
Speaking of things going wrong, I don't know if you were downtown when it happened, but the Iceman thing and the giant block of ice in the middle of downtown.
I decidedly avoided it. I did not want to be associated with it.
I never went to see it in person, but my friend showed me at social media like the day it happened, and it is around where I work. So I knew that a bunch of people were just going to be coming to see this block of ice. Apparently people were hammering it.
They got like homemade flamethrowers to try and melt it. The fire department had to get brought in.
I'm imagining people like licking this thing. Like it's just a big block of ice.
They get stuck to it.
Yeah, and they just get stuck to it.
Someone on Instagram had posted their parking ticket, and they had gotten it because Drake put this big ice ice block on their paid parking spot for their living space.
Oh my
So they
God.
had to park on a side street, and because of it, they got a parking ticket. He's campaigning to get Drake to pay his parking ticket. And
Yeah.
if Drake did that, I think it would be a better ad
I think
than
so,
Drake
too.
putting a bunch of ice in a parking lot.
I didn't realize it was a tenant parking lot. I thought it was a public parking lot.
I thought so too at first. It was like poorly planned
Yeah,
even.
the tenant lot
But
is
there's-
crazy.
There was private parking spaces that got covered up.
Imagine going and trying to park your car and all you see is a giant block of ice.
Is this the apocalypse?
Yeah.
What is going on?
I think he also, on the day that he dropped the album, lit up the CN Tower, all blue, icy, like textures. And then there was a fireworks show too. I didn't see it, but I just kept seeing stories of just like, Iceman, Iceman.
Well, the CN Tower thing, I feel like is so much more his brand.
Yeah, I think it was also someone was showing a shot of maybe him at the top of the CN Tower filming something, and you could see it in like the light in the windows. And I was like, okay, that's interesting.
Now, was it a good campaign or not? Is like what we're trying to get to the bottom of.
Yeah.
It's my opinion that it didn't hit. That it was a little bit random and honestly a little bit gimmicky. I mean, calling the album Iceman and just dropping a ton of ice in a parking lot, it almost feels a little bit lazy. Like it was the first idea they came up with and they just ran with it.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the times we talk about, well, I don't talk about it. I had a prof that talked about it, but killing your babies is ideas that we love are sometimes
Not it.
not it.
Yeah. In my opinion, I think it's not the advertising that's bad. It's how people take things. And I'm not a big Drake fan, so I don't listen to his
Me
music
neither.
or follow him. But the people who are interested in him, I think, took it very strongly, and they actually really enjoyed it. But I think, like you said, it does seem like a very first idea of like big block of ice. But also, it did generate a lot of earned media, and I saw it all over the place, even without visiting it. And I wouldn't have known about it unless it was a big publicity stunt that made me realize it was happening and be like, oh, Drake. Even though I didn't listen to anything, but it was still just like an interesting take to see people posting about it, even though it is what it is of just solid water in a parking lot.
Solid water, man.
The whole thing was interesting. I don't think it was thought through enough, but I wouldn't say it was bad per se. I think it was just, like you said, very, very gimmicky and it does feel very on brand for Drake, even though I know nothing about him. It's just a big thing that gets eyes on whatever he's working on. And I think nowadays that's kind of the goal for earned media, is wacky thing that will get you eyes on whatever the brand or company is.
I think like in this discussion about like bad advertising is it's or like lack thereof.
Yeah.
It's a hard thing to quantify.
Yes.
Because like absolutely a campaign like this got impressions, it got earned media. The day it happened, we both heard about it.
It got all the
And it was-
data that they probably wanted.
Exactly, yeah. It hit like the KPIs, but qualifiably,
Yeah, in terms of being an interesting thing that happened, it felt very base level rather than sentimental, I guess.
yeah, that's a good point. That it did lack kind of a sentiment or something to kind of root for, unless you were a fan and
I
for
think
some
the-
reason got hyped about the album drop. So bad ad, good ad, hard to say,
Yeah, for sure.
but definitely good publicity.
Yes, incredible publicity. I think that's the thing with advertising, though. It's very subjective. You have to hit a target audience. And if you're lucky enough to get people who aren't the target audience, then that's what happens. But it's usually very catered. And to have an opinion on if it's good or bad is kind of subjective to whoever the individual is anyway.
I want to go back to the point that you made about its lack of sentiment, because the last really big thing that involved Drake was the beef between Drake and Kendrick Lamar. I guess this is my opinion, but I don't think Drake left that on top. And so I think he also, for an album drop, needed to get people back on his side.
Yeah.
And dropping a ton of ice in a parking lot was not the way to do it.
Yeah, I didn't follow the beef that much. I only saw the kind of aftermath of it. But I definitely think if you fell off of Drake and this was your kind of reintroduction to whatever he's doing currently, it's definitely like, oh, all right, he just has a big block of ice. I guess that's what he's up to.
Yeah.
Good to know. And then you move on with your time rather than you're like, oh, I wonder what this big block of ice means. Like, what's the significance behind it?
Yeah, I think he needed to get like fans that he had maybe lost
Yes.
back on his side.
Yeah.
And maybe it didn't happen. Speaking of massive publicity stunts, Marty Supreme.
I saw a lot of stuff, but I didn't dive into it. But it was kind of everywhere. Everywhere I looked was Marty Supreme.
Yeah, there were so many spaces that I guess kind of for that short time got it dominated by Marty Supreme ads.
I think in general, you were just seeing a lot of Timothée Chalamet and his promotion of it and his kind of encapsulation of becoming his character. I had seen, they did like a blimp.
Big. They did a big blimp.
They had the Zoom call that was leaked. And then the final thing I saw was the SD Kid collab. Basically, that was the rapper that everyone thought was maybe Timothée Chalamet. And then they did a collab together, and he was basically just on a song with him and did a couple lines.
Yeah, I think the Zoom call kind of started a lot of it off because it laid the groundwork for Orange.
Yes.
And I think also the groundwork for Timothy being this like psychotic
Yeah, I think one
ad
of the
monster that had all these ideas.
one of the ideas was actually the blimp, I think. So I think it was the Zoom call, and then the blimp came out, and then
I think the Zoom call, I found it really funny. I think it did a good job of coming across as organic while still being not.
yeah.
They probably had like a rough outline of what they were gonna kind of talk about.
He's an actor, man.
Yeah, truly. So like from that we got the iconic Orange, and we also got some quotable moments such as Schwep, Schwep. And then that kind of organically led into the other, I think, bigger stunts like the blimp. I saw a picture of some ping pong people in like the ping pong ball heads and like the coats they were walking around. I also saw that he did this thing where he pre-screened contestants on Drewski's show. The little lad tapping around with his ping pong paddles.
That's fun.
But I think a lot of it really was Timothy trying to be this big personality. And I saw someone talking about it, and they brought up kayfabe, which is a term used in WWE to describe how WWE actors need to stay in character 24/7 so that the audience doesn't become disillusioned.
It's kind of like the Disney characters.
Yeah,
When you're in
Disneyland,
the park, you have to be, yeah.
So they were talking about how for Timothy and for Marty Supreme, advertising the movie became about Timothée Chalamet becoming Marty Supreme as this character for people to see outside of the movie.
Yeah.
Which I think is an interesting kind of shift in advertising as it pertains to movies. Because like historically, I think we've seen a lot of movie trailers were obviously a big thing and still are. And then we saw a lot of interviews with actors. But in these interviews, they would play themselves. I think with Barbie, there was, of course, like the whole Barbenheimer thing that just organically happened.
Yeah.
Neither of them really planned for it. The advertising that Margot Robbie was doing for that movie, I think, was a bit of a precursor to what Timothée Chalamet was doing for Marty Supreme, because it's like Margot Robbie did so much advertising for that movie also. And so we're seeing this shift, I think, in movie advertising where it's such a competitive segment. And so I think you really need to change the way that you're doing things and the way that you're ending up on people's screens.
Yeah, I think for Margot Robbie specifically, it was mainly a lot about the outfits. that she was doing. And I see that more now. I think Zendaya also does that a lot for the movies that she's in. I know.
Is that where Zendaya's hat came from?
No,
She
I
wore
think
that one hat. Oh, that
was way before anything that hat was crazy. But I think more recently for like Spider-Man and Dune, she does very thematic outfits for whatever premiere they're on. And I think that really encapsulates like the shift in stemming out from just the movie and bringing it into a lot of the stuff that they do outside of it, promoting it. It's really interesting to see that because there is usually that disconnect of like actor to character. And I think it's maybe shouldn't be leaned into as hard as he did for Marty Supreme.
Absolutely, yeah.
I think the stuff that they do with the fits and the different stuff on the carpets, that is the level that you should maybe be hitting.
It's an appropriate level.
Yeah.
I think.
Because also people can be so parasocial, and I think really leaning into a character and making it the whole thing when it comes to the advertising can be very, not like detrimental, but it can be very sort of harmful to maybe the actor's image when it comes to their fans being like, this is how he is exactly to the T.
No, exactly.
Because I know Timothy and I know who he is. Like,
no, that's so true. There's also an appropriate level of
playing into the bit.
I guess more so the amount of bits that you have. Like at the beginning of the Marty Supreme campaign, I thought it was funny and I was laughing along and I was kind of into it.
Yeah.
By the end of it, I was so fed up.
Get this orange man out of here.
No more orange. No more orange. Again, in some senses, there were a lot of eyes that were on him and on the movie. But again, it's all about how the consumer is receiving this.
I think too much of anything just becomes like overwhelming. It also becomes very one note by the end of it. I feel like anything in moderation. And I think it's definitely a good study on maybe doing too much, but it was cool to see a different take on advertising a movie because I think there's such a script to them typically.
That's true, yeah.
And especially since it was with a smaller studio, it's cool that they can have that freedom to kind of break the mold when it comes to advertising.
No, and I absolutely think they would have had a much smaller box office release had it not been for all of this.
Yes.
Like I think it definitely
did a lot.
Definitely did a lot and got eyes on it. Yeah. And so in that sense, maybe it was good advertising.
They got their numbers again.
So Jordana, what's your take? In summary, do you think there's such a thing as bad advertising? I
don't think there's such a thing as bad advertising. And I think it just goes to show that even what we may perceive as bad advertising is just, we're more thinking about the ideas behind it and the thought process behind it. And I think that's where we take our, like, it could be a bad take, but it's more so we're just looking at the behind the scenes and being like, they could have improved this rather than it's actually bad.
Yeah, I think as advertising students, we've like really learned to crank our criticisms when it comes to other advertising campaigns. Yeah. And so on a personal level, these ads are absolutely not my favorite, but I would have to agree with you and concede that there's no, I'm going to concede with you and say that there's no bad publicity. Yes. I think when it comes to if there is or is not bad advertising is a much more personal question. Yeah. And each person may or may not like what they see. The possibly unfortunate fact remains that they have seen it. Yeah. And I think even saying like the publicity around it, I think so much of advertising nowadays is getting eyes on things. So in terms of that, I think a lot of what we talked about today is very successful in that regard. Was very successful in that regard. And then I think a lot of them were very interesting. Some of them were just ice. But other than that, I think a lot of them were very interesting, and it is cool to see, even if it's fake behind the scenes of how these came to be. And it's also interesting to see how an ad that I think is bad might not be at all. Other people might love it. Yeah. Everything is subjective in the end. And I guess in that sense, advertising truly is art.
Yes.
And I think, is there bad art is a whole can of worms that we're not going to
We don't need to talk about that. Leave it in the comments. Do you think there's bad art? I feel like even if we asked anyone about any of these campaigns, they would have either very similar opinion to us or a radically different
Radically
opinion.
different,
So
yeah, absolutely.
That's the end of that little discussion. And like I said last week, we want to showcase ads we've seen recently or that came out recently. Each of us have our picks today, and I'm going to start off. Mine is the Air Transat ad that Courage Montreal did. And it's basically the tickets for FIFA are absolutely insane right now.
How much are they?
They're like in the thousands. And it's
oh my gosh,
so it's too much money. But the tickets to go to these actual places that the teams are from are a lot cheaper, like in the hundreds. So they did a split billboard comparison of the prices for the tickets versus the prices to the actual place, as well as the imagery of a field versus the plane in the sky. And I think it was just beautifully done, and it just shows the contrast of like you could just be there instead of actually going to the game.
And I think like people talk about the air of watching the game in the stadium, but I think you can find a really similar air inside of a bar or something that has the game on the TV.
Yeah, and then you could be at a bar in the place where the team is
Literally,
from.
yeah.
So that is mine for this week.
That's really cool.
Thank you.
My contribution to ads of the week is Adidas Backyard Legends. It's I guess a short film. It's about a 5-minute short film with Timothée Chalamet, Lionel Messi, Bad Bunny, a bunch of others, obviously Beckham. And I just thought it was such a cute story to be telling pre-FIFA. I think the thing with any sport competition is the stories that emerge out of it.
Yes.
And so to tell a grassroots story was, I thought, such a cute way of advertising kind of in line with FIFA.
Yeah.
It is 5 minutes long, so it's a bit of a pill to swallow. But I think because it has quick cuts, fast storytelling, I ate it up. I loved it.
I think we need to work on our attention spans nowadays. So I like that it's a little longer. It's good. Good pick.
Thank you. So this has been episode 3 of Briefly Speaking. Like, comment, subscribe, and and we'll catch you guys next week.